Hello, and welcome. In this video, we will demonstrate several useful operations you can apply to vectors in the R programming language. Suppose we have a vector that contains the production years of 4 movies. It may be difficult to remember which movies these years belong to, so we can use the names function to map a title to each year. Now we can call our year vector while passing in a title in the brackets. As you can see in the output, the year and title are now mapped together. Finding the number of elements of a vector is simple. All you need to do is call the length function while passing in the vector as input. As expected, the vector has a length of 4. In order to sort a vector, we can simply call the sort function while passing in the vector as input. This will sort the movies in ascending order time-wise from oldest to newest. Notice that since we use the names function, the titles appear in the output along with the year. Finding the smallest and largest numbers in a vector is an easy task as well. To find the smallest number, simply use the min function while passing the vector as input. For the largest number, use the max function instead. We see that the min and max are 1985 and 2010, respectively. Now suppose we have a vector that contains the cost of 3 movies in millions, and we want to compute the average. One way to do this is by using the sum function to calculate the sum of all the vector elements, and then dividing the result by 3. A simpler alternative is to use the mean function instead. Both of these methods will produce the same result. Another useful tool is the summary function. This function will display descriptive statistics about the vector like the min and max, median, mean, and first and third quartiles. In order to retrieve an element of a vector, you simply need to write the vector's name, followed by the desired index in square brackets. So this piece of code would retrieve the second element. You can also use a vector inside the square brackets. In this case, we're telling R to retrieve the second and third elements. You can also retrieve the elements of a vector by specifying a range. In this example, we retrieve the elements from index 1 to index 3. Putting a negative number as the vector index will remove that particular element from the output. So for example, a -1 will remove the element that was in index 1. The vector that you see here only has 5 elements. If you try to access an index beyond 5, R will report a missing value by returning the symbol NA. Now going back to our cost vector, let's apply a logical operation on each of the elements. As we'd expect, the first 2 elements are true, while the third element is false. In order to retrieve the elements from the vector that are true, you can write the conditional inside of the square brackets. Notice that the only elements that are output are the elements that were true from the previous step. As we mentioned before, R handles missing values through the symbol NA. Missing values come up all the time in real-world datasets for various reasons. For example, if these numbers represent age restrictions for a movie, then the indices with missing values might be movies that have an unknown age restriction. An important thing to remember about vectors is that all arithmetic operations are performed element-wise. So let's multiply these 2 vectors together and take a look at the output. You'll notice that the first element, 28, is simply the product of the first element of vector 1 and the first element of vector 2. 48 is the product of the second elements, and so on. In this example, we multiply a vector by a number instead, but the concept is the same. Each element is multiplied by 10. By now, you should have a good idea of how to access the elements of a vector and how to apply useful operations. Thank you for watching this video.